right. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome into the slate. It is Monday, May 15th. We are a DraftKings program, The Slate. We take you up until 6 o'clock on this Monday. Brendan Glasheen and Jeff Ulrich. We have Eamon and Pike behind the scenes, getting us up and running here. We got a little bit to get to. Sort of a slower day on the calendar with playoffs, though still in the mix, very much so, but slower day. We do have a Game 7 we want to discuss, Seattle and Dallas. Winner advances to the Western Conference Finals to face the Vegas Golden Knights, who knocked off the Edmonton Oilers last night. So we'll dive into Kraken and Stars. That is coming to you from Dallas tonight. And we'll also look ahead to the PGA Championship, which is getting underway this Thursday. Jeff likes to hit some golf as well. Jeff's got his cheat sheet up right now at DK Nation. And maybe we'll dabble into some NFL with some win totals. And now that the draft is a few weeks old and the schedule's out, I mean, there are some edges you can get by betting
absolutely
win totals.
A couple win totals I like right off the bat too.
Okay, cool. So we'll dive into the hockey now, talk some football, and then we'll wrap with golf. I know Jeff will be back on Wednesday for golf too. So where are we at for Seattle, Dallas? You've been very high on the Stars team all year. Kraken respond strongly on Saturday and take care of business to force a Game 7. Here we are, Dallas minus 190 on the money line, total set at 6. What do you got?
I mean, Game 7, it just feels like might be just time to kind of throw it all out the window and just jump on Seattle here. I'm not going to lie.
Wow.
Plus 160, Ottinger has been really up and down. Are we seeing a little bit of the same stuff with the Oilers that we saw with the Stars? I don't know. Just, too much just laying back and just letting the other team take it. I mean, I think objectively, it is a lot of the same. The Kraken have been better at 5-on-5. The Stars have a little bit more higher end stuff and better special teams, but they're not going to get a big edge in net. And the goal guy is not going to make enough big saves. Then I don't know if that strategy is going to work here. I'm kind of tempted to just say you should be dabbling on the Kraken. And that's kind of where I am. I don't have a huge lean for this game. I do like some of the player props again. It's kind of where I have more interest. I mean, I think one thing you will see is a couple players on Dallas specifically, like really just kind of bringing it. Joe Pavelski is a guy you can still get over 2.5 shots on goal at plus 120. That's probably my favorite bet of this game. If I'm being dead honest, I think you'll see Pavelski, who was a major force in Game 1. He's been here in these high pressure situations before. I think he'll bring it tonight, and I think he'll be launching pucks from the get go. So I like that one. I like the narrative around it. I don't hate the idea of Tyler Seguin. Seguin's just so hard to hit. I mean, Pavelski for me is a shot on goal guy. If we're looking at goals, I would probably start to go to the other side of the ice and look at some potential props for Seattle. Jared McCann was basically Seattle's leading goal scorer during the year. He's starting to play more, plus 170. Very fair. And if Seattle's going to win this game, by the way, you think about a same game parlay, McCann and Seattle money line is not a bad way to go about things. So that's kind of how I'm approaching this game. I honestly just don't have enough confidence in Dallas. I won't be shocked if Dallas wins. I just don't really have enough confidence to take that line. If you're doing the line, I would just say take the plus 160 at this point. But I like diving into the player props on this one. I think there's some really good lines on some very prolific players that I'm surprised are even out there.
Yeah, the total sitting at 6. The total's been soaring over in these games, right?
Yeah, and the only thing that has me a little bit hesitant is just it's a Game 7, and plays out tight. If a team gets a 2-goal lead, they're just going to sit on it. But I mean, I'm not going to bet the under either. I mean, I'll tell you that much. So again, I like going to the player props on this one, but yeah, certainly I kind of feel the same way about the total. If I'm going to take a side, I'd just take the over, take the plus money. To follow the trend.
Okay. Any developing thoughts with Florida in the next round, taking on Carolina, and just where you're at from a big picture?
Absolutely. I mean, no, it's actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because I mean, what I do like right now, I just like taking the Hurricanes straight up to win it all. I think that they, like the odds have finally caught up here a little bit with the Panthers. There's not that big a discrepancy in the odds right now. The Panthers are plus 115 to win the series. Carolina's at minus 135. But Carolina, I mean, like for all their, where are they going to get scoring? Well, they're getting scoring from everywhere. And their role players are coming through. They've got legitimate center, especially Sebastian Aho up front. They've got a great defensive core who contributes, and they've got the best goaltending left in the playoffs, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Bobrovsky is great. I mean, don't get me wrong. Bobrovsky's been playing out of his mind. I just don't know how many more series we're going to get of playoff Sergei Bobrovsky. So that would concern me. I like just taking the Hurricanes, excuse me, either in the series or just straight up, because they should be favorites if they make it there against whoever they face. So I know it's pretty close with Vegas right now, but I mean, Carolina straight up, Vegas starting Aiden Hill in net. I think you'll see Carolina be the favorite there. So I like the Canes, man. I know it's a short number, but like that's where we're at. We got 4 teams. I think the Hurricanes are just a little bit undervalued. I think they're clearly the best team left.
And what do they got for a series price? -135.
-135 again.
Okay.
And remember, like Florida was +250 against Toronto. So again, like the market has clearly, like the sentiment has shifted on Florida, but I don't think it's really shifted enough on Carolina's side either. Like Carolina just beat a really good New Jersey team. They held their own against the Islanders. And, I like them in this series. They've also were really dominant against Florida in the last 2 games these 2 teams played. So give me the Hurricanes right now for everything.
Okay. Love it. I am still on a Seattle Kraken Stanley Cup final ticket at 17-1. So I'm hoping.
I think you may be live after tonight. I really do. I just got that feeling. So we'll see. But
16-1 right now at DraftKings. So it's basically the same, but you could have got 20.
And you know what's funny about Seattle? They're going to be the underdogs in the next series. Again, like they're playing a team that's starting Aiden Hill in net. Like it's not outlandish for them to beat the Golden Knights. It really won't be. So interesting times, man. The Western Conference was always going to be wide open. The Oilers just aren't there yet. They should be there, but they're not because they refuse to stop starting Stuart Skinner. And the Stars clearly, they have their issues as well. We'll see after tonight.
2 of the newer franchises, the 2 newest franchises in the NHL, and the conference final would be something, right? Seattle.
Well, and cool for Vegas. I mean, these are good markets too. Cool, the NHL.
I know, but Canada would, to have no Canadian team is quite shocking.
Sure. I mean, it's not that shocking because we haven't won a Stanley Cup since 1993. But
who's counting?
The Oilers should have moved on, in my opinion. But I think Seattle and Vegas are good markets. Like they're really good markets. And I think it's actually good for the NHL. Even though, they would have preferred the Rangers and the Oilers or something like that. But
right.
Anyways.
Okay. Yeah. Bruce Cassidy doing just fine without the Bruins. That's something that's been discussed here in this town.
Yes, I'm sure it has been.
Yeah. Bruce Cassidy's 3 rounds in and Bruins players just couldn't handle their coach, I suppose. So you mentioned we'll do quick NFL minute here. You did say you liked a few win totals. Who knows if they've moved since you've liked them, but I will try to find the win totals if they are here. I thought they would be here. Team futures probably, right?
Yep.
Yeah, here we go. So with the now, how much do you factor in? I mean, I'm sure you're looking at the first month, 6 weeks of the year and thinking, oh, that's actually not a bad soft landing. Or maybe you might look the other way and say, that's a really tough start. I might lean towards an under because I might get a better number now than when they might start slowly.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's something I always consider. Obviously you don't want to just base what you're betting on just on a schedule. I mean,
yes,
when it boils down to it, every team has a tough schedule. Like winning games in the NFL is tough. And the things change so much. Teams get injured. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, what looked like a tough schedule can turn into an easy schedule. And vice versa too, right? Like, the Bengals 2 years ago looked like the easiest team on the schedule. And then all of a sudden, Joe Burrow starts playing like an MVP. The Bengals are good. And now it's like, oh, the Bengals are like one of our toughest games. So things like that happen. But there is a team specifically I really like for the over right now. And it's Seattle. They're at 8.5. They're at -130. You talk about soft landings, and that's a great point. I already liked Seattle going into this year. They're in a weak division. They've got Arizona and the Rams. I don't think either of those teams are going to be good. Seattle's added depth on defense. They had a depth on offense. They just added it everywhere because they had a bunch of draft picks, and they were already pretty good. They just had a couple holes to fill. Their defense gets a little bit more pressure next year. It's going to be a good team. 8.5, really low to me. Seems really low. They got an easy start to the schedule.
Yep.
4 non-playoff teams. They have an easy end to the schedule as well. And one thing I really like about it, they end their year with Arizona. So let's say things don't go as I planned. Maybe they're not as good. Geno Smith gets hurt for a bit. But if they get to 8 wins by week 16, like they have Arizona in the last week. You're going to be a favorite to cash. So I think there's too much there.
And who knows where the Cardinals are at that point? They might need another loss to ensure a lottery pick or the top pick.
And you know what? I talked about this with you before, I think already. I'm not as high on San Francisco as I was last year.
Right.
This team doesn't even know who their starting quarterback is yet.
Yeah. I mean, that is a tough little stretch though for Seattle. They go San Fran at Dallas, San Fran again. Now there's a bye in between there.
But you know what? Again, every team has a stretch like that.
Right.
Every team has a stretch where it's like, oh my God, this is so hard. Again, what I really try and look for schedules is the start. If your team has a chance of starting like 1-4, that really concerns me, because once teams get like 1-4, that's when the media starts pestering people. Things just snowball. On the other hand, you get to like 4-1 or something, or 5-1. Everyone's good. You got a little cushion room. You can guys get rested all of a sudden. It's like things are just good. So if a team has a really tough opening schedule, I usually just say, even if I like the team, I probably won't bet the over there. But Seattle, I already like them. They had a nice opening schedule, in my opinion. I just think they're going to be a little bit better than their current win total suggests. So look, they got the same win total as Pittsburgh. We're talking Geno Smith, Kenny Pickett. Not that I dislike Pittsburgh that much, but
tougher conference, I think, for Pittsburgh.
It's completely different conference, right? Like really tough conference. So I think there's a bit of a market disconnect on Seattle right now. I wouldn't be shocked if you saw that correct eventually, but that is a team I am definitely in on from the start here.
I know. So I want to throw this one at you, and it is schedule related, and it's also related to a lot of other things. I know they've been catching a lot of attention in this offseason as a team that can take that next step. But how about, and Emerson Lazio will be happy for me to say this, Jacksonville Jaguars, I felt, got some nice breaks in their schedule. Now, if you look at the opponents, so they won their division last year. By the end of the season, they just squeezed in as the division winner. Came down to the last couple of weeks. Tennessee was in the running, of course. Indy fell off in the previous a few weeks before the season ended. But if you look at the schedule for Jacksonville, their games against Kansas City, which was a division winner, Cincinnati division winner, Buffalo division winner, they're all spread out.
Right.
Like they don't have any of those teams in back-to-backs, or like you're not going Kansas City Sunday afternoon, then you're playing Buffalo Monday night the following week. They don't have those. They caught some breaks.
Right.
But you look at their first 4 weeks, Indy, KC, Houston, Atlanta. That's a nice little start, I think, for Trevor Lawrence and company. And like I said, their games against the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Bengals, and even the Ravens are all spread out. They have at least a week between each of those matchups. And then they end the year with Tampa, Carolina, and Tennessee. Now,
here's my take on Jacksonville. I actually want to say Jacksonville's number was at 10.5 for a bit. And I think the under got hammered. And that's why we're at 9.5 now, minus 135. Yeah. At 10.5, I actually would have definitely said, I think it's a good underplay. This team's getting a little bit too much heat, but the Heat's kind of driven off Jacksonville, and you make really good points with the schedule. And I think what's happening right now is people are hyping up, D'Amico Ryans in Houston. And, I think I legitimately kind of like the Colts, so I won't say they're getting hyped up, but the Titans could still be good. And I think that those teams are getting a little bit too built up right now. And I think people are kind of forgetting that Doug Peterson is a top 5 coach. This is a team that's already really good. And I agree with you about the schedule. So what I would do with Jacksonville, I would just wait, because I think you may see teams like the Colts and the Texans get even more steam as we get closer to training camp. Mm-hmm. And CJ Stroud throws a pass and it's like a miracle. It's the greatest pass ever passed.
It was like Trey Lance a little bit last year in the preseason when he threw that ball over the middle, on the run, right?
And all of a sudden, Houston gets bet up a bit and Jacksonville goes to like, plus 100 at over 9.5. So I'm with you. At 9.5, I would take the over on Jacksonville. I would just wait because I think that number will get bigger or better.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the quarterbacks, if Trevor Lawrence going into, which really he's going into his, I think it's really his second year because that first year with Urban Meyer was just
what a disaster. I forgot.
Like burn the tape.
Almost, yeah, I mean, I almost forgot it
existed. Happened. It happened.
That's how
yeah,
bad it was.
That did happen, but
like a nightmare.
His competition would be, in theory, it's Anthony Richardson, it's CJ Stroud, and is it Will Levis or is it Ryan Tannehill at that point? I mean, they play now. That's the other thing. They play Tennessee. Their first matchup with Tennessee is not until November 19th, and they wrap the year at January 7th. So who knows who the quarterback is by November 19th for the Titans?
Yeah.
At that
I don't think I'm of the opinion Houston's not going to be any good again. I actually think that the Colts are an interesting over target at 6.5. And then the Titans, I'm not even sure what their win total is. Probably because 7.5 is pretty low, but I have no idea. Like, I mean, Vrabel's a great coach. Probably be like 8-9 or 9-8, but nothing out of the ordinary there. I mean, I think it's still Jacksonville's division.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All righty. I think they're better. I know that you're right, though. They have been getting a lot of hype to not just win the division, but kind of win it comfortably. But they do play a first place schedule. And
I'm gonna throw out an under I like.
Okay, please do.
This one will be controversial. The Bills.
What's it at?
Under 10.5.
Okay. Wow. Now, does 10 wins win that division, or do you think someone else wins the division?
I think that there's a lot of scenarios where Miami or the Jets could win that division. This is kind of like more of a I like Miami play than I necessarily hate the Bills. I just think that Miami is a team that's fully capable of taking a step up. They were right there last year. McDaniel's just got to manage the game a little bit better. Their defense has got to step up. And the Jets are going to be tough, man. Like, I mean, look, there's
a lot of noise around those two teams, though. Tua was threatening retirement because of his concussion issues. Tyreek Hill says he's going to retire at the end of the year. The Jets have a very good defense, but the Rodgers thing, we'll be tweeting.
Yeah, I'm definitely not as bullish on the Jets, but I do think Miami's a little bit undervalued. I just think that, again, like what we saw from Buffalo, like they got kind of beat in the playoffs. They got exposed a little bit.
Yeah. I agree. I hear you, but I don't feel as good about the other teams in the division yet to dethrone them, I think.
Fair enough. I mean, I like the under 10.5. I mean, minus 140, I'm not taking the over.
Okay.
Plus 120. I think that's a pretty solid number, man. I mean, asking a team that's in a tough division with two other teams, who have projected like 9.5 win totals. The Bills are a publicly bet team too.
Like I think the Bill. Just looking at it right now, right in front of me, the Bills' back half of their schedule.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Tough. Like after week 8,
there's some weird scheduling thing the Bills have to overcome too. And I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it might be something to do with buys. They play a lot of buy teams, like teams that are coming off
buys. Okay.
Yeah. So the schedule it's not great for them. Again, and they have the division winner schedule. That's another thing. Like a team like Miami, they're playing like the easier team, Jets too. So, actually, Jets have a pretty tough schedule. Anyways, I don't know.
The whole conference
have tough schedules. They're playing each other, right? So,
yeah, just really quick. So they play Tampa on a short week, Thursday night football at home, and then after Tampa, week 8, they go right in order. Here's the rest of their season: at Cincy, home Denver Monday night. I'm thinking Denver by week 10 will be better with Peyton. I think that's just in the sub. But if Denver gets their act together and is just half as bad as they were last year, that's not as bad. Jets at Philly, at Kansas City, home Dallas.
Wow. Yeah.
At Los Angeles, New England. That should be a cakewalk. And then at Miami to end the year. And we saw how they looked in Miami last year. It wasn't pretty now the temperature won't be as bad January 7th as it would have been in September. But that is a gauntlet, I think.
I do too. That's kind of my point. And look, like the thing with New England is like, I'm not bullish on New England at all, but as far as like, if you could pick any cellar dweller team, like the last guy you want to face for like a gimme win is Bill Belichick, who's just capable of scheming up something crazy against anyone. Right.
Yep.
And it's just made the Bills' life hell for a lot of his coaching career. So again,
I mean, the
like,
Bills, the last week of the season last year, to give the Patriots, I guess, a compliment, they looked as good as they probably did all year on offense, and the Bills needed 2 kickoff return touchdowns to win that game.
So,
yeah,
again,
Bills under. Wow, I might be coming around on this, but their opening, I think, is very like they start at the Jets and then Vegas, Washington, Miami at home, Jacksonville at home, New York at home, New York Giants, at New England, home Tampa. So that's like, to me, the first 8 compared to their final 9 are.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't know. Buffalo is going to be an interesting team next year. I mean, I could be completely wrong. They could just be the class again, but I feel like this is a team who's had a little run, and kind of like Green Bay last year. This just might be a little bit of an off year for them, where some things, they're not as deep in the secondary. Again, they were run on a lot last year. I just wonder if they were exposed a little bit and if it's going to carry over. It kind of has that feeling, but we will see.
And all of the premier teams in the conference outside of the division, if you call the Jets or the Dolphins to be one of those teams in the mix, just out of division, they have to go to Cincinnati. They have to go to Philly. They have to go to Kansas City.
Yeah.
They have to go to who knows? The Chargers can charger, and the Chargers could be up.
Chargers are a good team, though. They're a really good team. I mean, like they've got the talent. I mean, we don't know how good they're going to be, but I mean, they have a 9.5 win total. I mean, like they're projected to be a top tier team. So
so those to me stand out. The fact that with the 3 best teams on their schedule, I think, are Cincinnati, Kansas City, and Philly, and they have to go on the road for all 3 of those games.
It's rough, man.
Very rough. They didn't get any, because in Buffalo, to their credit, they have a great home field advantage. They play well I think maybe they don't play as well in the weather as I thought. They could backed out of that game against Cincinnati in the playoffs. They didn't know how to.
That's the thing.
They don't use their home field to their advantage.
The Bills are a dome team. Like
the
Bills are a dome team. The way they're built with Josh Allen, like, I'm sorry, but like they're a dome team. They really are.
Wow.
They don't even run the ball that much, and they actually got rid of Singletary. I
brought in Damian Harris.
Again. Yeah, they did bring in Damian Harris. That's a great point.
Zeke Elliott's out there. I know Zeke's been connected to Buffalo, possibly.
I mean, Zeke would just make me like the under more, but I don't think he'd be a good fit in that scheme.
That's right. So Singletary is now, where is he?
Where did he go? He went to not Chicago. God, where did he go?
I'm looking.
Houston.
He went to Houston.
Was it Houston?
Houston, Texas.
Yeah, it is Houston. Yeah. That's right. Yep.
So their running back room is James Cook, Damian Harris. They have Hines. That's right. They got Hines last year at the deadline. Wow, James Cook. Maybe they trust James Cook. Maybe they're going to install more running plays for James Cook.
I mean, it's fine. The Bills just don't really run the ball that much. Like, I don't think that's going to change this year. I mean, I don't know.
All right, Bills under, Seattle over, and I don't know, Jacksonville. I feel like that makes a lot of sense.
I kind of like Miami for like a division win bet. They're plus 310. Again, I just don't feel like they should be like triple.
But that correlates if you think the Bills go.
For sure. That's what I mentioned. Yeah.
Down to plus 280, same as the Jets.
They got that down a bit. Yeah, I'm not shocked.
Okay. All right, what are we looking at? PGA Championship gets underway on Thursday. What has come to mind? You got your cheat sheet up. You can spend the last 10 minutes on the PGA Championship. What are your opening thoughts?
We have seen a lot of movement in the betting odds already. Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele started the day at plus 2,200. They've been bet down to plus 1,600. I do like both those guys. I wrote up Xander in my cheat sheet. His time just feels like it's got to be near fourth, second, his last 2 events. Really good, just major championship player. Performed well in this area of the world as well. Got to like his form coming in. I've bet I have futures bets on a lot of these guys. I have a futures bet on Finau plus 3,500. I have Day at plus 4,000. I have Tommy Fleetwood at plus 8,000. And I do like those players. I think, though, if you're looking objectively today, and you haven't bet anyone, I mean, for me, the plus 1,600 on Schauffele and Cantlay, I think you're better off looking a little bit further back. Finau plus 2,500 is fine. Even Brooks at plus 2,200. I mean, you've got this sort of area between, we'll call it plus 1,600 and plus 3,000, where I think if you take a couple guys there and Day Koepka, Finau, you're going to probably be left with somebody who's in the mix on Sunday. I mean, this is a championship golf course. It's a long par 70. What we see in the PGA Championship approach, tee to green play, and length is a big deal. You guys are all solid drivers of the golf ball. They've all got good records out here in this area of the world as well. Finau's won out here. Finau's won on Donald Ross courses. Day has won out here. I'm pretty sure Koepka's won Bethpage Black. This is just prototypical, going to be power golf in my opinion. And just kind of whoever brings it really with the putter and is steadiest is going to win. So I honestly, I think the best, if I'm just looking at the guys like plus 3,000 and under, I just go back to Jason Day at plus 2,800. He didn't even putt that well last week, Lash. Like he smashed the ball. People forget how dominant Jason Day was when he was on his game. I very much think you could see Jason Day take it again. I think plus 2,800 is a very fair number there. We saw Koepka do well, but like Day should not be double Xander or Cantlay. I have no problem doing that. I think that's a good number still. That's probably the best available number just of those shorter guys. And going back further, I mentioned him off top, but like Tommy Fleetwood at plus 6,000. Market just not giving him any respects. A player with a bunch of top 5 finishes. He's played well at these big field events too. And I think if you're looking, again, you're looking further back. Fleetwood is a player who's challenging majors, and I'll throw one more name out. Joaquin Niemann at plus 7,000. I really like Niemann for like a top 10. He's 16th at the Masters. He's top 10 each of the last 2 live events. Just such a good ball striker. This is the PGA, maybe the US Open is where I think it's going to happen, mainly for Niemann. I think the PGA is probably a really good spot. I think these setups are good. They're more classic golf courses. So Niemann and Fleetwood down there. And honestly, I kind of like Ricky too, but Niemann is definitely a guy for a top 10, plus 550. I think that's a fair number.
Reading your write-up, if only you were closer to Toronto, you could make the drive to Rochester and go to the Oak Hill.
No, it's not that far.
Of course. But you're factoring in. We'll discuss course, but also the weather doesn't look great in Rochester. And you mentioned it's got some similarities to what we had for weather for the Masters.
It does, and when we saw the Masters, again, it made the course play longer. Koepka and Rahm were just bombing it out there. In theory, should help guys like Finau, should help guys like Brooks. But you never really know. It's really just, you've got to be striking it solidly. If it's just, I think that the weather just enhances people who are already playing really strong tee to green. Like we just saw Rahm win in these conditions. So if you are looking at the top of the board, John Rahm is where I would go. If you're just like, I just want to take one golfer and it's like, well, just give me the guy who's most likely to win. It's John Rahm, plus 750. I don't think you should have shorter odds or bigger odds than Scheffler, to be honest. So again, you're looking for something like that, I would just take Rahm. But, I think that the other strategy of picking 2 or 3 guys from that plus 2,000, plus 3,000 range, I listed off my favorites. Day, probably what I would consider the best number there, but Finau certainly in play, and Brooks as well.
All right. And Jason Day, like you said, nice comeback win last week in Texas. Based on the recent form, it seems that he might be mispriced, or you're getting a really nice number at 28-1.
I think so. Day's won multiple playoff events here. He was second at the PGA Championship at Baltusrol, which is in New Jersey. He has done really, really good work in this part of the world. And this isn't like a monster US Open course where guys like Brooks or Rahm may have a little bit of an advantage off him off the tee, but it's technical enough. I think Day's approach game is great, and they just come back. This is a player who he gained 8 strokes putting, man, any day of the week here, and he was confident last week. I would not be shocked to see it. You could have some concerns, a little bit of fatigue, but last week was a soft golf course. He was playing for competitive reasons to get in shit, and he did it. I have no reason to doubt him that he can't just come in here and do it. Really don't. I think that's a fair number.
I don't think we've hit on Ricky Fowler yet, but you have him as someone you're
yes
sleeper.
I like Ricky again, but in that range, Fleetwood, Neiman, Ricky, I think they're all great top 10 bets.
Okay.
If we're going to get a surprise winner, it would not shock me if it was one of these three guys. But Ricky's approach game, I mean, it has been off the charts. He gained 5 strokes putting in his last event at the Wells Fargo. He looks way more comfortable with that club now. He switched putting grips. He's won in Boston. He's done well on some of these courses out here too. I think he's great for DFS at 7,600. How you want to play him? Is he going to win? Probably not. I think if I was betting one player in the outright here, it would either be Fleetwood or Neiman, but he's finished T12 or better in 4 of the last 9 PGA championships. I mean, as a top 10 bet at plus 550, again, like betting a couple of Fleetwood, Fowler, and Neiman, I think those are 3 guys you can be targeting in those placing bets. Really just, if you just take Fowler and Neiman, they have better odds there. So, one of them hits, you profit. But I do like Ricky this week. I think he's a little bit more of a DFS play for me, but I'll certainly have exposure in both markets.
Okay, excellent. Good stuff. And we'll have more golf coverage from Jeff throughout the course of the week. The slate again on Wednesday and throughout the course of the week, of the week with the sweat during the week. Oh, you know what? I got to be honest. You got my mind now thinking about the Bills, betting the win total under Bills. Man, really?
I mean, yeah, it's, again, you don't have to run out and do it today. I mean, I don't think the Bills are going to get too much heat down to the under, but I don't know. I mean, you always got to be wary of, these teams, just like Green Bay last year. I mean, Green Bay was like plus 1,000 to win the Super Bowl. They were like the 4th favorite. And I mean, what did they hit? I mean, they just had a bad year.
They went 8-9, right? 8-9.
It's football. Like getting to 11 wins, man. Like if you're going to bet the over on an 11-win team, you better be real sure. Like, sure, the Chiefs,
right?
I trust that, but they have like 11.5. I mean, so, but there's few teams I would bet at that number for an over. Very, very few. And, I just don't really like how the Bills ended it last year. I think that you're going to see more teams like Miami, the Jets, potentially the Chargers just be a little bit better. And I think this could be the year where the Bills take a little bit of a step back. Again, nothing against Josh Allen or anything, but.
Okay. All right. Good deal. We are back tomorrow for the slate. We will have, are the Lakers in the
tomorrow?
Nuggets?
No, it's tonight, isn't it?
No, tomorrow. There's no NBA tonight. They start tomorrow. Yep. Lakers Nuggets tomorrow night.
It's tonight.
And then Carolina. When do Carolina and Florida start? They start Wednesday. Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Jeff is now swayed thinking Seattle tonight.
Slightly in Seattle. Absolutely.
Slightly. Couple win totals and PGA Championship. Thanks to Eamon and Pike for getting us up and running. For Jeff Ulrich, Brendan Glasheen, again, back tomorrow after the 4 p.m. Madden Sim. We'll be up right around 5:15, 5:20, past the hour Eastern time. The Sweat starts your day at 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, all those places are perfect. Thanks so much for watching. You all have a great night.